Have you been told you're a shaman? Have you ever been to a shaman or you want to go to one? Shamanism is a big business nowadays. It's an explosion. There are classes everywhere. You can learn how to be a shaman in a weekend, a week, a 3-week intensive. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. The connection between shamanism and animism. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Laura Giles, and I'm talking about shamanism and animism. So, for a lot of people, they don't even know what animism is. What does that word mean exactly? It's kind of a new thing. Like, is it made up? Is it, what is it? So, animism is the first religion that we can document. It goes back thousands of years, at least 40,000. We call it the first spirituality, and it's based in nature. It's earth-based. And it's observation based, and lots of people call it superstitious, but the common elements of animism in any culture is the belief that everything has a spirit and it's alive. Okay, so animism is the foundation of shamanism, so it's like the roots. And with Pan society, the reason why we call ourselves modern animist is because we do have that animistic belief of everything is alive, connected, and we're all one. But we don't, it's really for the purposes of Western people who have kind of lost their connections to the ancestors and are trying to regain that. So the branches of this tree could look very different. So my version of Pan might be really different than your version of Pan, but we still recognize the divinity in each other, and we respect the common root. So that's how we kind of function in this animistic world, because we're really coming from different places and different ideas of thought, and yet we're still one people. So with shamanism, what I'm seeing, and I'm speaking in generalities, not to any particular person or any particular school, is that it is done in the West by Westerners who are teaching techniques. And these techniques may belong to a culture, or they may just be the things that are distilled down between shamanistic cultures that are common. So for example, if Peruvian shamanism does drumming, and Native American medicine, because it's not shamanism, does drumming, and a tribe in Iceland does drumming, then they'll do drumming. So that's what I'm talking about, the commonalities and the things that are not unique to shamanistic cultures, and then they teach those as techniques. So my understanding as a person coming from a shamanistic culture is that if you don't have the root, meaning animism, and you don't have the spiritual connection, you don't have animism. In the West, we have this kind of reductionistic thinking, and you can see it in our pharmaceuticals. So scientists want proof that something works, so they test all these things, they narrow it down to this active ingredient, mass manufacture this active ingredient, usually as a bioidentical thing, not as the real thing, because it's too costly and too hard to make it uniform. And then they sell that as the antidote, the cure, the treatment. And it works. So we think that, ooh, okay, we figured it out. Animists have a completely different view of how this works. So a thing can't be reduced to its parts. It's all relational. We're seeing this now in the way that the advanced nutritionists are looking at food. So what I'm talking about is you see lots of supplements. And so somebody has a calcium supplement and they say, oh, well, you just need more calcium. Well, that's really not how it works, because these minerals are synergistic and they work in ratios. And if magnesium is not present, then calcium can't do what it needs to do. If vitamin D is not present, then calcium can't do what it needs to do. And they have to be present in certain ratios. So for that, we need whole foods. So supplement is not the same as a food. And food has all of these things that, I don't know what they're called, but they're they're not nutrients, that helps the nutrients to work. It's kind of like, when people found out about probiotics, oh, probiotics is the thing, and now everybody's taking all these probiotics, and then they're like, why doesn't this work? Well, we need prebiotics too. Okay, well, let's get some prebiotics in here, and sometimes maybe this doesn't work. It's because everything works as a system. You can't be reduced to just this one thing. It's same is true in spirituality. So when my belief is that you can't make a shaman. Spirit chooses you, and you don't really have a choice. Well, I guess you could refuse the call. You can always refuse the call, but you can't make it choose you. This usually happens in childhood, adolescence. Sometimes for women it'll happen when you're older, because in many shamanistic cultures, animistic cultures, it is believed that the first duty or role of women is to procreate, to continue the tribe. And you can't nurture your children if you're nurturing your tribe. Shamanism is a vocation. It is not one that's paid, it's one that's done in service. And so you have all these systems that set up to nurture the tribe. And in an animistic tribe, the shaman is cared for by the tribe. Through donations, and sometimes, often, the shaman will also have his or her own way of caring for himself. So it'll be a goat herder, or a butcher, or whatever they do, some kind of thing. It's not a job. That's just not the way that it's done. And it's to sell your spirituality is, I don't even have the words for that. It's kind of bizarre. So when you're talking about going to pay a shaman or pay to learn how to be a shaman, it's just a really bizarre concept. Now, do we need this kind of healing in the Western world? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can some of these practitioners who learn skills be very effective? For sure. For sure. But I just would ask you to think about, well, how does this fit within the animistic paradigm? How does my vision of shamanism fit within the animistic paradigm? For me, if you don't have any roots, then you're, I don't know. I mean, how do you build a building? He says just, oh, I want the penthouse, but you don't have a foundation. We do that a lot in the West. We want to be at the top without having climbed up the mountain. Just like, ooh, just take me on a helicopter and boop, there I am. The process of learning and growing is imperative. And if you don't have the help of your ancestors, if you don't have the earth veneration, if you don't know how to connect to rocks and water and all of these things, how powerful is your shamanistic practice going to be? I don't know. So just something to think about. I may have stirred a little something up in you, so let's get the conversation going. It's a really important thing to talk about, and we need to connect those dots. So like, share, subscribe, and comment. Ask me questions, ask Sherry questions. We're both from animist cultures, and we'd love to hear from you. See you later. Ciao.